Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Quite the drama on the timeline last night. Another roster change has come into effect. Of course, Stage 5 kicks off next week. Very questionable one from a number of different angles. Pros are certainly not agreeing with this change that was made by the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this should break a point. Thought this was a remarkable statistic with regard to Atlanta FaZe. They have scored 465 out of a possible 500 points this season. So every stage, you can score 125 points. If you win all 5 of your group games, then you go to the major and win, you get 125 points. They've only lost 4 series on the entire season. I remember, I think it was Methods on the flag called this a game battles record, which is, it's just remarkable to think how good these guys are in a league this competitive right now. But yes, 30-4 in series. They've been in every single finals. They've won 3 out of 4 of the events so far. And at well, CDL points, they've barely dropped any the entire season. And compared to the rest of the packet, it's just incredible what these guys have been capable of. Wanted to mention this as well because I wanted to discuss real quick about the new Subliners situation. As Clayster says, playing in the World Series of Warzone on Wednesday and played Warzone in a while. So pretty exciting to see a lot of pro players going to be playing in this World Series of Warzone stuff. So definitely want to keep my eyes on that to see how that goes, how it develops, if it's actually entertaining to watch. But on the other side for the Subliners team, of course, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Clayster, Zuma and Asim that are playing in that Warzone tourney. But he says right here, I'm getting my visa tomorrow. Cannot wait to fly and move to Texas this week. Finally, some good news, he says. So we did talk about this a little bit, the fact that obviously he had the massive issues getting out to the major there to bring Decimate in, didn't get the result they wanted. At the same time, if you're the Subliners, you might be quite happy with this situation because you really got to see why Asim is such a crucial member of the team. He was discussing on the fact that, okay, the rest of the team really needs to be able to get on the page more of doing some of the more dirty work on the map rather than just relying on Asim to do it, because if they lose him or if he has a bad map or something along those lines, then, well, they're clearly in a very difficult spot as we saw this past weekend. But Asim is going to be out there, so for the rest of Stage 5 for the major, certainly he should be back in action. Good news for the Subliners, of course they were a championship contender. They were in the grand finals of the Stage 3 major against FaZe, so well, good to see them back to full capacity. This is the point standings then. So as we see, 2, 3 and 4 is an absolute bloodbath there between these teams trying to get second place. FaZe are ahead by 1 million points on 465, as Clay mentioned yesterday, but we're going to talk today about the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Now, just wanted to mention real quick, none of these teams are technically eliminated yet. If Mutineers lost like every series and these guys won every series, they could all still make it in. But realistically, it's not going to happen. I'm pretty sure if you're LAG, if you're Paris, if you're London, if you're Surge, you know the season's short. You're trying to figure out, okay, how do we save a decent amount of money, but also try out, well, some players for next season. If I was LAG and if I was some of these other teams, you don't really have an academy squad if you're these other squads, but if I was LAG, I would definitely be trying out players on my bench or from the academy squad that I put together at the start of the season. So it doesn't surprise me to see them bring in Mental here. But who they're bringing in Mental for, I think, really has been the big concern. So Mental, Gears of War professional, there was a lot of drama really around Mental before the season came in because he was getting picked up to LAG and a lot of amateur players felt like it was very disrespectful that a Gears of War pro just gets picked up over them. But kind of Mental's done a lot of great things in Gears of War. Is he going to be a great COD player? Who really knows? We're going to get to see him in action though. So this is what they say yesterday. Entering Stage 5, we will be calling up Billy Mental, partner to join our starting roster. Throughout the season, we have seen his rapid progression in Call of Duty and are excited to see him compete at the highest level. Totally makes sense from LAG side, bringing in Mental, just see what happens, right? Because, you know, basically at this point, I have nothing to lose. You're not going to make it to the World Championship anyway. You've got one more stage, therefore, you've got like, you have 5 matches and then the major, potentially just 6 matches if you go to lose and lose straight away, which is not what happened this time. They actually played 7 matches this stage. So fair play to Los Angeles Guerrillas because they beat Los Angeles Thieves to the major. But still, you've got to try something. I think, yeah, Mental could be a great asset to a Call of Duty team in the future. Definitely the time to try something out. You could argue they should have tried him out earlier, or at least give something a go, because it clearly wasn't working in their team for several months now. The response though, well, the second paragraph is really where the concerns come through for a lot of the pros. As a result, Chino will be rejoining our academy roster. We want to thank Cheen for his hard work during the last 2 stages, and are looking forward to watching LAG Academy compete through the rest of the Challenger season. Pretty remarkable stuff. Chino, of course, comes in as a substitute to the team, and well, he joined the squad when Vivid departed. The Vivid drama was in itself like very strange in a way. The rumor has it that Vivid was telling the team like, look, this team isn't going to win. We've got to make some sort of change. Like, you know, if you have to get rid of me to actually make that change to try and make the team win, like, you know, so be it, I suppose. And then they decided, yeah, all right, yeah, actually, Vivid, that's a good idea. You're out of the squad. Put him to the bench. And then, of course, they sell him a month or so later to the Dallas Empire, and then they made a grand finals, right? So, you know, you got to think. And there's so many of the issues that Los Angeles Guerrillas have had has been in regard to their SMG slaying. And, well, you know, there's been a lot of questions being like, oh, well, well, if only they had a decent SMG, you know, fast, aggressive entry guy on the bench. Oh, well, they sold him, or they, you know, benched him initially. So, you know, it's already interesting when Chino came into the squad. Pretty much everyone was saying, yes, look, I mean, at the end of the day, this, you know, you've got Chino on the team, you've got Assault on the team, Silly is much better on an AR. Like, why is this team so slow? So, okay, getting rid of, like, an AR player to put Silly back to the second AR is definitely what they want to go down the route of, right? They want to put Silly back on the second AR. It makes sense. Bring in Mental as the SMG. At the same time, though, Chino has been, like, I think I would argue their best performing player. I think he's probably been a crucial part of this team, looking initially better without Vivid, and then since then it's gone downhill because they just don't have the firepower. Like, let's just put it straight up as it is right now. And then, well, Chino is very frustrated on the matter. He says, nice baby Billy, that being Mental's a beast though, won't talk down on him, but he says the following: just sucks, another year I'm put in to fix a broken team, but they refuse to see the real issue. Last year it was OpTic Gaming Los Angeles. Chino was put in for a time that was never really going to work out, and look, I think Chino's played great these last couple of months. We'll look at some stats here in just a second, but Chino's been a very solid player for this team. He's done his job, but still, they seem to be incredibly reluctant for whatever reason to break up this core roster. We've got Silly, we've got Assault, we've got aBeZy, right? This core three that won the World Championship back in 2018, and if anything, just been living off that for the last several years. Silly, I think, can be a good player on an AR. We'll talk about that in a second, but look, if I was on this team, I would be thinking, I know you probably don't want to split up Silly and Assault because they've been a duo for ages, but, you know, like, they've just been playing for so long and really haven't had any success at all outside of the Evil Geniuses roster in World War II. So I'm just surprised that Chino's the one that finds himself out of the team here. Bringing in Mental, like, trying something different, putting Silly back to the AR, all makes perfect sense. Like, give it a go, try and find a roster which might have some potential to work next year, or at least find a piece. Maybe you find, like, okay, yeah, actually Mental really works well with Silly, and maybe we keep those two going to next season or something, or whatever you're thinking. But at least try something out, and that makes sense. But getting rid of Chino is super strange in a way, because I think Chino can be such a crucial part to the vibes on the team and keeping the chemistry high. I think he's been a pretty important factor in that sense for this team, in addition to actually playing very well, having some takeover maps, and statistically being, I think, their best player this last stage. And, you know, as Loony says, bro, I'm absolutely mind blown. This is where some of the reaction comes through. Loony says, what? I agree, bringing Mental in at this point. The benching money, Cheen, absolute L move. You said it, there's no champs, you know, they're not going to make champs anyway. What is even the point of keeping this core 3? As Label says, whoever runs the LAG camp got to be straight up trolling at this point with the moves that they are making. And well, Zuma says a similar thing. Whoever is running the show at LAG is smoking on the papaya. And well, this is what Nameless says. Vivid, now Chino. Feels like the LAG core roster are protecting themselves. So this was Nameless's initial impression. But well, Silly kind of came out on the Reddit and said that's actually not the case. So a lot of teams really are built by the players, right? A lot of the big teams, at least, the players will have pretty much the entire say in who they pick up. But clearly LAG, that's not the case. As Justin Silly Fargo says here on the Reddit, just to clarify, since I thought this was obvious, players do not make roster changes, just FYI. Thought that was common knowledge. Now, obviously not the case. He goes on to say, like, not the case for all teams, but for his team, it clearly seems to be the case, right? So apparently, they just have no say. The team, like, whoever it is, of course, you've got Bevels and Ricky, the coaching staff. Are they calling the shots? Is it some higher up management that's calling the shots? What's going on here? It's really tough to say. It's surprising to me the players, well, if this is true, then the players just don't have any say on this squad. But still, I mean, Silly and Assault stay on the squad. We see this replies right here from Silly. I thought this was kind of funny because, you know, some statistics came out that obviously don't look particularly pretty that we'll have a look at in a second. A 0.78 overall for this stage. On a sub, yes, congrats, man. And as he says, you know, same thing with Inside Alec. You know, people just don't grasp it at all. If you're an AR player and you go to an SMG, it's just not going to work out too well for you. He goes for the ratio, but well, Chino managed to hit it with the counter ratio, as you can see right here. So pretty remarkable stuff. These were some of the statistics, though, because I wanted to say, like, Silly isn't like an awful player by any means. I think he can be a very serviceable player, but this was like the question with the Vivid change. Like, why are you putting Silly on the SMG? He did use the PPSH to decent effect in World War II, but ever since then, like, he's always been better on the AR. And we see this in an initial team. I mean, this was stage 2 where they had a couple of decent results. This is actually where they beat FaZe, right? They threw a Thieves, so it wasn't a terrible stage for them. At this point, Silly was on the second AR, but Salt was on the main AR. Of course, you had aBeZy and Vivid on your SMGs at the time. So this was the roster in stage 2. Now, I think he was also using the SMG a bit in stage 3, but I just looking at stage 4 right here. This is all courtesy of breakingboy.gg. If you guys want to check that stuff out, leave it linked down below. So, okay, Silly and Harp went at a 0.7 this stage, which is not pretty at all. 0.8 in search, 0.92 in control. So, not great at all. So, clearly, I think Silly's a better assault rifle player. That makes sense, but, you know, the questions will be there. Why is Assault still on this squad? Didn't have a good stage, hasn't played particularly well. Why have they not kept Chino instead of Assault, or tried something else out, right? And I think that's really the big question, right? Because people love love Chino in the scene most certainly, but I also think he was a great player for this team. So obviously they're in a tough spot. They still can make champs, but they're the team that I suppose is close enough to making it to the World Championship out of all the 4 teams that haven't made it quite yet. But this is another incredible statistic, right? During stage 4, LAG was 0 in 11 in hardpoints. And look, overall KD side of things, Assault at a 1.01, Chino at a 0.98. But I mean, I don't know, like I think Chino was doing quite a lot for this team. aBeZy obviously not at a great spot, but you know, you're not going to get rid of him now. You don't want to spend a crazy amount of money. Probably if you're LAG, you want to try and make some changes, see if this potential, you know, mental move comes in from the substitute bench and actually works out for this squad. Maybe try some other things as well, because you've got Nero Poison, you've got Exceed over there in the academy team as well. You've got Morks on the team, so maybe you try out some other combinations before then thinking, okay, let's just jettison the entire team and we'll make some big money moves during the off season, right? Which is what I would imagine Los Angeles Squillers would do at the present time, but still pretty remarkable stuff. I do think this was kind of funny actually from Decimate, all things considered. As Chino says, like, you know, I'm putting to fix a broken team. They refuse to see the real issue with the squad, which I guess he's talking about being the core of the team, but also very surprising the fact that the players don't seem to be able to make any of these decisions, because you think they would do a decent job at least in picking players that they thought were a good idea, or at least saying to management, like, look, okay, we think we should go down this route, this route, and then whether they agree with them or not, that is another question. But as Desi says, all good start, I got dropped for aBeZy after just 2 days. aBeZy, of course, finally making it out here to the States, which is great news, all things considered. But yeah, Decimate, of course, finds himself back in the Challengers pit. Speaking of, well, Call of Duty players that have had great careers, this is incredible, to be honest. This is career earnings in Call of Duty. So Crimsix lining it up, but there's been some change down here, right? And the FaZe guys are making their way through like an absolute rocket. So, of course, there's a lot of money about nowadays. Like Crim and Clay, they've been competing for years, back when the prize pools were very small indeed. But, of course, they've also won championships with a big prize pool. So Crim's up here topping the list at 1.2 million. Highest paying game being last year Modern Warfare, winning the World Championship on that team certainly boosted the bank account here with Crimsix and Clayster on Dallas Empire last time round. Jacob's dropped out. I mean, he's down to the top 10, but I mean, you know, Jacob and Slasher's definitely up here because the Black Ops 3 World Championship was $2 million, $800,000 in first place, $200,000 each. That was pretty impressive. Certainly only topped by the last year's Modern Warfare Championship. Scump's here in third, but crazy to think about that Scump's only at like, you know, almost 900k. And Arcitys already is in the 800k, so he's trying to make up ground. And Simp, and I mean, aBeZy's been around like 1 year longer than Simp because he played in World War II. But I mean, aBeZy and Simp as individuals, they've only been around this scene for a couple of years, and they're already like 8 on the list at 700 grand plus. Like, yeah, you give this a couple of years, you know, you wouldn't be surprised to see these guys topping it, right? Especially if they go on to win the World Championship this year. So thought this is pretty crazy how quick these guys are coming up the ranks. But it's not really surprising when they go to every event and win every single event, or at the very least make the grand finals. Intriguing your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really upset that you're welcome, and that you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you once again, as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.